Okay, welcome everyone. And I've got the absolute pleasure of having Michael with me. Now, I've had Michael before and we've done a recording, but it didn't go onto our public YouTube. It was just for my private community. And so today I'm wanting to right a wrong and make sure that Michael is up here on the full YouTube channel. So Michael, right at the start, why don't you just introduce yourself and then we'll get straight into it.
Yeah, wonderful. So firstly, thanks for acknowledging that you didn't publish it last time, because I was always thinking like, where did that video go? But I know it went into your private community. So I'm Michael Nadalin. I run a company called Market Lead and another company called Stratosphere Group. And I've been doing, the reason why I'm on this channel obviously right now is because we talk about Google Ads, and I've been doing Google Ads for coming up to 10 years now. So I am an absolute dinosaur. Even though I'm 33 years old, I am almost 80 years old in the Google Ads space.
And you've kept a full head of hair, so you've done better than me.
I know, mate. It's genetics, not stress avoidance. And I think honestly, I've had the most fortunate journey in advertising. Finished uni, got a job in an agency doing Google Ads, went to another agency, came like the Google Ads senior, and then went to another agency. And then I started my own agency, and then it's just been doing Google Ads, but now it's a lot of lead generation, e-commerce, and a lot of, Aaron, as we were chatting before, is a lot of business consulting now, because when you are on the front lines of advertising, being it lead generation or e-commerce, you start to realize you're actually involved in sales and sales consulting, and then you realize that that is the life or death of a lot of businesses. And then you go into other rabbit holes with business owners, and then you naturally start to see yourself becoming a business consultant without being like the cringe business consultant who just reads some random books and gives strategies, but really aligned with data and transparency there. So I've run Market Lead. We've got a bunch of clients. We spend a lot of money. I personally have spent over $100 million in ads now. I ticked that over last month. So I'm personally running over $1 million in ad spend, even though I run a company. But that's the benefit of this, is I can run a company and still directly liaise and work with clients where all the real deep insights come from. So everything I want to share today with you, Aaron, and the community and YouTube is directly from my experience. It's not from other people's courses or from LinkedIn or other stuff. Is directly from spending millions of dollars a month and just like having to deal with like the punches along the way and really simplifying it to make it practical.
That's why I wanted to get you on, is obviously, so what we're going to do a little bit of a different format today. And I've never done this on the channel, where Michael's going to share one of his strategies, which is working really well. I haven't heard it before. And then I'm going to come in and ask some questions, ask some different scenarios, and then I'll be sharing a strategy, which I'm finding that's working really well for our clients at the moment. Michael hasn't heard of it before, and then he'll ask some questions and we'll go from there. And the reason why I wanted to do that, because I just want to pick up before we get into that, something you said. I do really feel that there is some within the industry getting really worried about the whole influx of automation and all of those things, and how is it going to affect the Google Ads specialist. But I'm seeing, especially for people who stay in it long enough and really get a core understanding of how Google Ads works, because I'm finding similar scenarios with you as well, is that there's actually a real need for business owners wanting to connect directly with people who understand this thing and can outwork the vision of their business. And that's where that, I guess, probably these strategies will come from. But I agree with what you're saying there.
Awesome. I'm excited for this because everyone watching this, we're both Australians, and Australians are super real, but this is pure conversation. There is no script here, because we're just like, this is going to be awesome. What is also awesome that we both need to acknowledge is we are 2 of the 4 Australians who are nominated in the top 100 influential PPC people in the world. So Aaron and Michael, good on us. Good on us for making that list.
Hey, why don't we also mention too, so obviously the other one is Mike Rhodes, who I'm calling we should rename him the Godfather of Google Ads, because he's just the nicest guy.
He's a legend. I haven't spoken to him one-on-one yet, Mike.
Yeah.
Reach out, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think he's spending most of his time in Bali at the moment, so I don't know if I should be saying that publicly, but And then another Melbourner, is that right? You can
Casey
Gill.
That's it. Yeah.
So
excellent. I haven't had to before, but
and this is geography. 3 of the 4 people are from Melbourne, so I'm the only Queenslander, the only old ball up here.
True, mate. Yeah, so, well, there we go. But it's good that it's really interesting to see that, because even recently I've been talking to some pretty big businesses, and I'm not about awards or that type of stuff. I'm just like, I'm too data driven. But when I mention that, they're like, wow, that's impressive. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that so people are more impressed by us, Aaron. So then they can actually think we're better than we actually are.
I was going to say I don't know about awards, but I've got an award sitting in the back, so I can't. Anyway, but that's. Hey, mate, let's get straight into it. Hey,
Yeah, okay.
All right. Before I pass it over to Michael so he can break through his strategy, what I really want, the purpose of this one is to really look at within the industry, as you'd be aware, there's so much changing at the moment. There's so many things that are happening, and we really want to lay out some, I guess, strategies within Google Ads that are really working for clients. Both of us, I haven't asked you this, but I'm sure that this would agree, is that the benefit of running larger accounts is that it allows you to see extra data, to see what's working, so that you can then apply those to even smaller accounts. So the one thing I want to stress is for both of us, these strategies may have been worked out and figured out on larger accounts. Well, for mine, I've already tested it on some smaller accounts and we're seeing the same results. So regardless of what stage you are within Google Ads, these will work. Just a preference notice as well, we can't, with all of these recommendations, obviously take your own data and your own results into account, because Google does sometimes do silly things. And sometimes I think we've all had those cases where you look at an account and you're like, there is nothing right here and there's nothing that I would do, but it's working, so I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
So that would be the only warning that I would give with all of this, what we're talking about.
Awesome. And I think that's really important that you mentioned about learning from big accounts and applying to smaller accounts. Bigger accounts are easier to manage than smaller accounts. The only thing with bigger accounts is they come with more risk, because small problems or small mistakes can lead to high ad spends in mistakes. But at the same time, you also have such a big data pool to work with, to analyze, that if you get 100 clicks a day in a bigger account versus 2 clicks a day in a smaller account, they're obviously like very wrong numbers. Let's just say 20 clicks in a small account and 1,000 clicks in a bigger account. That data acceleration you get makes a significant difference. Plus the statistical significance of the data makes a big difference as well. So you do get the chance to work with big accounts. Actually look at it as like they're going to be easier if you actually know what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Let's get straight into it. So I don't know if you have a name for your strategy. If you don't, that's fine. Maybe you could make one up on the spot. Otherwise, let's roll out your strategy to me, and then I'll make some questions. Hello there, Aaron Young here. I really hope you're enjoying this latest interview that is part of our Google Ads interview series. And all of these interviews are brought to you by Define Digital Academy, where we have a passion to empower you to be able to optimize your Google Ads campaigns so that you can see the best results for your business or your client's business. And with that, we've actually released a brand new Google Ads Optimisation Checklist. Now, if you've got my other checklists, I do need to stress that this is a brand new checklist, and it's the first time I've released a checklist with all of the 6 major campaigns that you need to be using in Google Ads. So that's everything from your search campaigns, your shopping campaigns, performance max, display, video, and demand gen. And what it does do is it not only lists all of the different optimization actions you need to complete, it also lets you know the correct time that you need to complete these optimizations. A very real trend that is happening in Google Ads right now is that the most successful Google Ads campaigns are the ones where you're not only going through and doing the right optimizations, but you're doing them at the right time. So enjoy the rest of this interview, but make sure before you go to follow the link in the description below so that you can get access to my updated Google Ads Optimization Checklist. Hope you enjoy the checklist and also the rest of this interview. See ya.
I just want to preface a few things here. So this is, I've got one for lead generation, one for e-commerce. Now, I just want to take 2 minutes just to go through a few first principles or basic principles, because as you mentioned, with the change in the automation and the AI in Google Ads, ultimately you need to do less in Google Ads now, but it's actually getting harder. So beyond just the strategies, this is the biggest issue, is you can watch a video like this and get that strategy, but if you don't have the thinking process and the expertise behind it, or knowing why to do it, you might implement something and it doesn't work. And it might seem like a simple strategy, but it doesn't work for you. So the reason why I'm noticing Google Ads is getting harder now, it's because there's less things you need to do, which requires more thinking and critical thinking behind it. Especially for us, I think if you're really good at Google Ads, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you get beyond the Google Ads accounts and really understand the data and the strategy, that's where you can make millions of dollars like my companies do. So if you just take that one step back and look at data and the strategy and like using critical thinking, that's when you can actually get better results for clients, doing less work, and you make more money. Yeah. So I just want to start with that, because it's really important that the thinking patterns behind all of this stuff is the difference. I see all the people on LinkedIn posting all these crazy scripts and strategies. I'm like, I don't even do that. but I know I'm getting better results and making more money purely because that's not where the game's won now. It's won in your head, your communication with the client, and then the implementation of the strategy.
It's a great point. I'll just jump in there quickly too. And that's the big thing, because sometimes I'll put like a YouTube thing up and people go, oh, that's only 200 ROAS. That's not a good result. Not knowing that the reason why we've done that is strategically because that business, they've got a 6-week rebuying pattern.
Yes.
So it's all about lifetime value. So why would we fight for a higher ROAS when a lower ROAS, that's the sweet spot we've found where we've been able to hit the minimum standard, but grow. And that's just one thing as a side too, is that don't get thrown away by different metrics or vanity metrics. It's really coming back to what does the client need. Now, some other businesses, they need high levels of ROAS, but that's where you've got to come back and ask the question. So let's jump into your strategy.
That's a great point. That's why this is really important, because with this, I spend probably 20 times more time actually speaking to clients and looking at data and doing data analysis in spreadsheets than the time in the account. So then when I'm in the account, I just take one sniper shot and then get amazing results rather than spending hours doing all this crazy stuff that doesn't work. So the lead generation strategy that we can do lead generation, because I think this is more the strong suit I have, but we work with a lot of e-commerce. I think more people are interested in e-commerce, but I'm not going to give that because it does work, but most people couldn't apply it. So with lead generation, this is not a new strategy, but it is a strategy that works consistently to literally make companies millions of dollars. My ethos, and every time I take on a client, I go, I'm here to help you make millions of dollars, not hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars now. And we get that. And it comes from this strategy. It comes from hyper-segmentation of campaigns. And the reason why I call it hyper-segmentation is you're segmenting your Google Ads account, the campaign structure, most importantly, the campaign structure based on the lines of business or the themes of the campaign. The reason why I've done this, I continue to do it now, and it's more important now than ever, and I've been doing this for like the last 10 years, is as advertising's changing more and more and more, you need to segment your data so not everything's being clumped in one place. Because similar with Performance Max, if it all goes into one campaign, where do you actually have the ability to see what's working? Because if it works, everyone's like, yes, we're amazing. But the problem is when it doesn't work, why isn't it working? And more importantly, if it is working and someone goes, let's scale this, how are you going to know what part of it you're going to scale? And you actually can't. If everything's lumped in one place, you can't scale it. Because it will diminish returns. You can't go, this specific keyword theme or this line of business is what's going to help our business scale. So this strategy didn't purely come from performance. It actually came first from a reporting standard. So I worked with a lot of enterprise and large businesses, but even at my previous agencies, I was always the one working with the bigger clients, which then, even though I was a specialist behind the scenes, I'd always be pulled into these meetings because I could communicate effectively. And I recognized that a lot of these clients wanted certain reporting, and it was more important about reporting than results. So I started to go, okay, I need to structure accounts based on reporting. So then it's easier and faster and more clear to report. But then what I noticed was from a better structure and more hyper segmentation based on lines of business, top priority areas, whatever it was, we ended up getting better results because I could go on a campaign level, I could see all the results, search impression share, the budgets, the spends, like the actual results itself. And then I could actually just make the moves on a high level. And then once I could actually make the moves on the high level, then it actually went into our automated reporting effectively, which meant that I was spending less time analyzing the account, and then it was just getting better results. So then I just spent more time actually doing stuff that worked. A lot of people spend hours and hours on reporting or even trying to deep dive. We can literally shortcut that to 30 seconds with a proper structure, which means that when you see the data clearer, it's easier to make decisions. It's easier to do execution. Then you get a faster feedback loop because you're making decisions faster. That learning window, you get a longer time period, then you get better results.
But just on that too, because that's when it comes to like segmentation and naming. That's why I say for people, I hate it when I get into an account that's ad group 1, campaign 2. Like name your campaigns, use proper naming conventions, purely just because like if you're naming what that campaign is about, you know as a quick look, great, that product is working. That service is working. I don't need to touch that. This service is not working. This is where I focus. So you want to have 10 campaigns, but it's really only 2 campaigns that you need to optimize at the moment, or look at do a deep dive on. So no, keep going.
We spoke before this call about when you're at the Kajabi conference and people are talking about different things and people who are making a lot of money, and you're like, they're only running 2 funnels. Simplicity is the secret to success in Google Ads. If you are requiring advanced, crazy, complicated things, either something fundamentally wrong in your Google Ads account or something fundamentally wrong in the business. Simplicity should be the guiding light for this. A simple structure, it may be hyper segmented, but that's coming from a place of simplicity, because at the end of the day, the performance of the account will be based on the person running it, the individual. And if the account's structured in a certain way, the harder it is to like manage, the harder it will be to get results. If the harder it is to see the data on a high level, the harder it is for someone to manage and do it. So what we've noticed internally is we're working with huge accounts spending $500,000 plus a month. And just from that, they're the ones where when you take it over, you're like, this is going to be overwhelming. But the common theme I noticed, the bigger the account, the more likelihood it's being mismanaged because it hasn't been structured properly. When you structure it properly, I never fear about results dropping, because I know that a better structure within a short period of time, the algorithm performs better, but also the management's easier, which means that you're more likely to work on it and you're more likely to get results. So that's a really big thing. The next part to this, talking about the Google Ads side, if you really want to be making an impact in lead generation for businesses, you need to step away from the ad account and actually get the business's sales and quote data. It's really important, really dead important, that if you do have this hyper segmented account, it becomes millions of times easier to directly report and attribute actual offline sales. And this isn't some like Google Click ID thing. It's actually just going, we've got these campaigns, and then when you get that lead that pushes into their CRM or whatever it is, the UTM string will say it was from this campaign. So then you can link it up. Then you put that into a spreadsheet, you get the quote data, you get the sales data, and in a simple spreadsheet, I know it seems so simplistic, but you can go, this month for these campaigns, we spent $20,000 and we did $500,000 in quotes and $300,000 in sales. And when you show those numbers, not only do you become extremely valuable to that business, because one, no one's ever done it. Two, no one's ever thought about doing it. Three, no other agencies can do it. It actually gives them what they need, which is actual transparency on their business of what's working. Because if they're doing SEO, email marketing, whatever the hell it is, they do not get that transparency. But if you are the person showing, we spent 20, 50, 100 grand here, and we did $1 million in quotes, and you only did $500,000 in sales, or even worse, $100,000 in sales. When they're going, our sales are not going well, you can go, cool, well, everything up to this point is good. Your quotes are at $1 million, but your quote to sales dropped down to 100, like 100 grand. Why are you only having a 10% sales rate? And it puts it back on them. And that's when I was talking before about becoming a business consultant. That's what I'm ending up doing, is going, what the hell are your sales teams doing? So anyway, that's my end of my little rant. I'll hand it over to you, because I get too passionate about this, because this is where millions of dollars are made, but more importantly, where millions of dollars are lost every month, every single month.
So the main 2 points is hyper-segmentation and then obviously your data. So let's start on hyper-segmentation. So do you have any, I guess, for people who are wanting to apply this, do you have any questions? Because I do this as well. So the way that I phrase this when I'm talking to a business owner is I use the term of levers. And what I say by that is, what levers do you need in your business to be able to drive sales? Are there any sort of questions that you lead a business owner to that you're asking about so that you can make the right segmentation decisions?
The main thing is, and this is just my opinion, I do believe that the Google Ads account structure should reflect the business structure, being it if they've got different lines of business, as in like you sell like insurance, for example, if you've got pet insurance and business insurance, common sense would say that they should be different campaign. Common practice though, Aaron, is most people don't do that for some crazy reason. And more importantly, with that segmentation, making sure that you've got negative keywords that negate keywords from other campaigns from lapping over, because that's a big issue where you might be hyper segmenting, but you don't have negative keywords that stop Google from pushing keywords that should be in here into that one and this one into this one. So for me, it always will start off with the business structure. What are all the different lines of business or product ranges that they have? Product being the services, and setting it up aligned with that. That's number one. Level two would be, what are the areas that they are focusing on growth? Now, focusing on growth might be that it's an underperforming area in the business, a new line of business. It could be that they're highly profitable there, or they're not profitable at all, and they're like, we need to focus here. So it's also structuring it on what's important to them. So that's how I do it.
And it's important to note that is different for every business. So I know, we're managing an account where it's a franchise model. So essentially we've got the same campaign. So it's one campaign with 3 ad groups, and it's multiplied around all of their franchise locations. And the reason for that is because some franchises are wanting to put more money into marketing, whereas others don't. Also, as well, some franchises of the three main services, only two of them are the main ones that are focused in the area because it's all about they do air conditioning services. So anywhere that is coastal, air conditioning is more expensive for them because there's more salt in the air. So it's you know what I mean? So that they need more maintenance things. So that's where it really comes down to this is probably the biggest encouragement that I'd give to any Google Ads specialist is that rather than coming in with this is your strategy, the first step is what's the business want? Then you come back and go, okay, this is the strategy using fundamental rules in Google, like you're saying, like if you're going to add a segment, make sure there's things, but running, so I think that's great. So the way, I think we're on the same wavelength there. As I said,
Definitely.
I build it around levers. So I like to talk to the business owner of what are the levers? So have you got, so for e-commerce brand, a big one is seasonality. What are your seasons? And do you need to be able to increase and decrease spending in different areas for different locations? It could be about profit margins. For other businesses, I've seen it, it's got to do with if it's not their own product and they're selling other people's products. It can be around, there was one business we had where they had a 3-month cycle where they'd renegotiate all their contracts. So it makes sense to have campaigns built around their suppliers. But for another business that could be in the same niche, that may be completely wrong for them. So that's great. Okay.
I think those are two perfect examples, by the way. The one with the franchises, that is the perfect example of that, where it has to be based on location and their people the franchisors are putting in their own budget, so you need to allocate it. There are so many times when I've seen accounts that just don't do that. That is like that is a perfect example, as well as the one you just mentioned then about that they've got lines of business or brands that they're renegotiating. So you've got to have the ability just to turn it off and on and add budgets within 20 seconds. If you put all that stuff together, you'd have to be going, if it was e-commerce, you'd have to turn off shopping SKUs. If it's keywords, you'd have to be turning off keywords. You may miss it, and then you're still spending it. It's like that. Those were two perfect examples, Aaron.
And then what happens to that campaign if you've had to turn off the product which is converting, giving you 80% of your conversions? Your whole account dies. Whereas if it's in a separate campaign, yes, conversions may drop, but at least the business owner knows that the reason why this has dropped is because we've stopped that supplier.
Exactly.
Okay, hyper-segmentation. Other thing I was going to ask there, do you ever do anything around this? So in terms of you might have a campaign set up and then you add in extra segmentation, or and if you do add in extra segmentation, what are the decisions around that? Is it because of performance? Is it because of volume? What are some options there?
Wonderful. Conscious of the time as well, I can go over 15 minutes longer if you want, just letting you know that. Yeah. So we can do the chat. So
this will be the last question.
In terms of hyper-segmentation, yes, you can continue to segment. So we have an insurance client that they had a very niche area of insurance. Because we did this, they were like, this is a really important area of our insurance that we never get enough leads for. So I built a hyper-segment campaign out. But then we noticed that one search term, not even keyword, but one search term made up about 70% of those leads in that hyper-segmented campaign. So we actually took out that one search term, put it into its own campaign on exact match, but we did it on maximize or like the top impression share, because we knew when it had a top impression share, or even just when it showed enough, this was the one term. So we already took it from different lines of insurance down to this really niche one, down to one specific, and this is like a one-off 1% time we did this, but actually taking that one search term and putting it as an exact match because we noticed it there. Most of the other times when you do this hyper segmentation, you don't need to go any further down. If you do want to, you can, but that was just a case where they literally doubled their leads in this line of business. You could have only done with this type of hyper segmentation.
All right. Other question I just had before I jump into my strategy. The data you're talking about, UTMs, are you importing that back into Google Ads, or is this just offline data that you're keeping offline?
I keep it offline.
Or it depends on the business.
Yeah. So there's a really good script. It's a really simple script that you put into your ad account. So then anytime someone clicks on your ad, rather than it just being the Google Click ID, it will push all these other elements through, being it the campaign name, campaign ID, blah, blah, blah. I get that to push through to a spreadsheet. So how I tend to operate is ad accounts go into a spreadsheet, offline data go into a spreadsheet, and then we do all the manipulation and data analysis in there as well.
Yeah.
If we want to feed that data into the ad account, we can. Most of the time we do not. Most of the time we do not, because still a bit paranoid about Google and data.
No, that's fine. What I will do too is I'll just in the description, for those watching the video, Michael, do you mind if you give me that script link?
Yeah,
and then I'll put it through the video.
Yeah.
All right.
It's super simple. It's amazing.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for that. Let's switch roles. Okay. My strategy, I've actually got a term for it, and I call it the bottom-up funnel. What I'm essentially looking at with this is that we start with high intent. For a lead generation, that would be search only. For e-com, that would be search and shopping. And what we're looking at doing over the first anywhere between three to 6 months, we're trying to find out what are the best performing keywords, what are the best performing ad assets, are our landing pages working? And then from there, we look to start going through and scaling. And we do the scaling through two mechanisms. One, once we've got enough audience lists, we'll add in some remarketing campaigns. And two, we'll continue to increase the budget until increases in CPC make it unprofitable. So what I mean by that is that increasing budget by 10% and our CPC jumps to 15 or 20%. The key metric I'm looking at there is my search impression share. And what I'm looking at there is, because for some niches, we've been able to push it up to like 65, 70% until CPC goes crazy. For other niches and search keyword themes, we even notice it at about 35, 40%. It just makes it unprofitable. What we then do from there is that we then start stepping up the funnel to colder traffic, because this comes from me, from the core principle of when you're scaling an account, any account, there's only two ways you can do it. You either increase your current impression share on your current keyword themes, or you reach out to colder keywords and colder traffic.
Yes.
They're the only two ways that we're doing it. So I start with that first option because that's generally the cheapest and the easiest option. Then we build up to the funnel. So the next level would be that we would add in a Performance Max campaign, or in some cases, dynamic search, potentially some video campaigns. Depends on the business there again. For e-com, it's quite easy because we've got the conversion value data reporting in. For lead generation for this, I do recommend that we import data back in. And generally, we'll do that through, we've had some great success with HubSpot, also Salesforce and Zoho. But if we do that, we take away any other conversion actions. And the only conversion actions that we have in that Performance Max campaign for lead gen are ones that has data feeding back in. So we don't go form inquiries. We just go, once again, this depends on the business. Some businesses, we schedule it and we go, we did one with Salesforce where we went, if the lead was a good quality lead, but it didn't end to a quote, but it was like the type of person that you want, we'd put a nominal value of $1,000 on it. If it led to a quote, we'd put a nominal value of $10,000 on it. If it led to a sale, it was the actual, because this was like, anywhere from $50,000 to $250,000 in value. Yeah. So that was a good way of doing it. The other thing that we do there is if we are using Performance Max, we will use it to only for new customers, and we'll also take out our brand exclusions. So the three core factors there are: one, we're only using campaign-specific goals; two, we're only bidding on new audiences; and three, we're adding in the brand exclusion. So what we've done then is that we're saying we don't want to muddy the waters with the bottom of the funnel traffic because we've already built that. Yeah. Now we're building on top of it. And then from there, once we see that same pattern again of we're getting CPC resistance, we just go up a further step. And that could be with video. This is where we're using demand gen. The only thing that I'd also say there is as we step up the funnel, we're also changing our messaging. And this is probably one thing that people don't think about.
Interesting.
And what I'm looking at here is bottom of the funnel, what we're looking at doing is we're just looking at removing resistance. So we're making it easy to get the information you need to make a decision.
Yeah.
Middle of the funnel, there may be some education. There may be some sort of reminder elements. Top of the funnel, it's introduction and those things. The only thing I would say there is that if it's for a business or a product that doesn't have a strong keyword focus, we will actually start like with video or demand gen. Because we've got to create the education. Then we add the bottom of the funnel. Then we add in the middle of the funnel. It's just because I find the way that Performance Max works, it always works better when it's got some level of conversion data feeding into it.
Wow. Mate, I don't even have questions. I'm just like, that's an excellent masterclass there, because even just talking about the hyper-segmentation before, that is, you're doing that as well with those different stages.
Exactly right.
Funnels, you've got the bottom of the funnel, middle, and top of funnel, but then also having aligned goals or outcomes that you have with it. I just loved, whilst we do that, I just loved how just like you made it just really simple and practical, which a lot of times when people, usually like marketing people and companies do it, they talk about this stuff, but it's not actually practical. It's more theoretical, but the way you just explained it then, amazing, because bottom of funnel being it, you focus on the impression, like search impression share, and then measuring against cost per click, and then moving up to the middle of the funnel, and then having different goals to know that that's actually associating with actual value, not just like another lead that could be of a lower quality.
And the thing I like about your hyper-segmentation is that we can also do this in different levels. So if we've got, say, for example, different services, we may go, that service and that product, it's ready to go up a level, whereas this one's not ready yet because we're still testing. Yeah, that's why I like it, because it's more of a guiding principle as opposed
Yes.
to a strategy.
Yeah.
I'm probably also on the bent of as well is I don't like pushing Google campaigns to force them to do something that they'll never design to do. That's why for me, Performance Max, when it was introduced to get the conversions you're getting and generate more conversions.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen this. I'm taking on an account at the moment and it's all Performance Max. And we're having to re-add in the bottom of the funnel because they're getting like a peak and then it falls away. And then a peak and then it falls away, because Performance Max will just hit one spot. And that's why I find sometimes, especially when you move up, having a dynamic search as well works well.
Yes.
Because it's finding new themes for us, which then Performance Max can feed off. Yeah. And then interesting to get your point of view on it too, is that have you had I've had a couple of clients who are dealing with Google Reps at the moment, and they're pushing demand gen as a remarketing campaign. And it's come left field from me, because I go, that's not what demand gen was introduced for. And it's whether they're looking at, I'm not saying it doesn't have remarketing in it. I'm just saying, for me, I'm not touching demand gen until we've filled everything else up.
Yeah, I wouldn't even touch it full stop. I'd actually start looking for different channels at that point, or just started leveraging Facebook ads more. As you mentioned before, there are campaigns that you just got to make Google ads what it's meant to do, which is really solid. Bottom of the funnel being like people actually proactively looking for that product or service, and then maybe moving up a bit more. I've got a client spend like $100,000 on YouTube ads, and I'm still not convinced that it's like the bee's knees.
I think especially with YouTube, one thing you got to think about too is you always got to think about it's bent. Like it's 70% male, I think at the moment, 70% male at the moment. So for e-commerce brands that are dealing in female products, now, I'm not saying it can't sell, but it's just you have to be aware that that platform is already bent 70% towards males. So just take those things into account. Look, but having said that, one of our most successful YouTube campaigns was actually for a woman's brand, but it wasn't for sales, it was for app downloads. It worked really, really well. But the funny thing about it was a slightly more mature brand. So their age bracket was probably 35 plus, and they had 50% Android app usership, which was also another quirk, because in Australia, obviously Android usage isn't that high, but for some reason their clientele, their target market, it just really worked with YouTube.
Going back to the consulting part is, as you've go deeper into advertising, I used to be just Google ads all the way, and now I'm starting to have definitely a holistic approach to it. So some of those top of the funnel, I love that it's bottom up, because that is how it should be done. Anyone who ever goes from top down or even talks about the top at the start, it's talk about it that it's a potential maybe 6 to 12 months down the road, but there's always enough down the bottom of the funnel. Now, if there's not enough down at the bottom of the funnel, that's probably also a red flag for that business, because if you're trying to create demand for the business, that's hard. You want to be going into that slipstream of people are already proactively looking or proactively buying. You want to get into that river, so then you're just capturing that river as well. If you're trying to build some interest in something, man, that's a hard way to make money.
Yeah, it is. And it's, we've all probably got cases for it. And that's why I said the only time I'd ever go top of the funnel first is if it's a good product, which has to have it. But then I'd agree with you too. I'm pro Google ads. Top of the funnel is probably more better on Meta, in terms of introducing people to a product that they don't know they need. A friend of mine has got a business, Earmuffs for Kids, which we started with some stuff really early back in the day. He was a drummer, and all the search traffic, there was earmuffs for kids, but it was all about winter, not sound protection.
Yes.
So we had to go down two paths. One, he went heavy down Facebook. In Google ads, this is 10 years ago, so Performance Max wasn't a thing. We went down search campaigns based on the benefit, not the product. So that would be the only thing I'd sort of say is the top of the funnel. If there's no keyword focus, that would be the only reason to start with. Then you've got to be really specific with where you're sending them to, educating them. It takes time.
And that's the thing. And that's the actually part of the expertise that when someone comes to, you really need to understand is, where is this business on people's buyer's journey? Are they proactively looking for this solution right now? Are they looking for this solution in general? Or are they just not problem aware, and you've got to interrupt them? Because if you're trying to interrupt them, that will require a lot of time and a lot of money that a lot of businesses who are doing that, usually small businesses that don't have the budget. Now, it's sometimes easy to have the bias of going, this will work, but then if you have a budget of $100,000, but if a client has $1,000, $5,000, it's really tough. That's when you've got to really understand that knowing the business, knowing their budget will help define either what channels you go with or what campaign types in different channels you go with. Super important.
And that's why I like the bottom up funnel approach.
Yeah.
Because that's where you basically going, let's get the low hanging fruit, as we would say in Australia. Let's win over that. Then you also know, fundamentally too, as the Google Ads specialist, look, these are the ad copies, this is the messaging that works, this is the assets that work, or this is the landing page that works. And then when you start reaching out to new levels of the funnel, yes, it's going to take more time, but you're still profitable. And I talk this through with the business owner, go, look, we're profitable at the moment. Are you happy to invest an extra 20% in Google Ads? But you may not see the return on that for 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
But because we're profitable, they're happy to, some businesses want to wait longer. Others are happy, let's go, let's do it.
I think like both of our strategies are kind of like interwoven here, because with different segmentations, different stages of the funnel, you can actually go, okay, the bottom part of the funnel with this segmentation, we get this return on ad spend, and not just return on ad spend from e-commerce, but lead generation and sales. Lead generation being quotes and sales. And then you go, look, if we go more middle of the funnel with this different strategy, we spent 10 grand and we made only 20 grand back. And then the top of the funnel, you can go, look, we spent 10 grand here. We got no return, but we do know it attributes to more brand awareness. But just knowing, rather than just the account as being like going from spending 50 grand and making 100 grand or whatever it is, you can go at different stages. This is what the returns are. So just knowing that if the month goes up or down, they're not like, oh, that's amazing or that's horrible. What went wrong? You go, no, specifically this area is going well, this new area at the top we're testing. That's why the average has been brought down or up. And then it's really easy to explain that. So then not everyone's freaking out about why the account's gone good or bad.
I think the common theme with both of our approaches, and this is what I was hoping, and I was pretty confident, as I said, that this would happen, is that the one thing that they had is that it's actually starting with a client focus and a business focus, finding out what makes the business work, what the business owner wants, and then designing a campaign, knowing how Google Ads works, designing it around that. I think the big mistake is a lot of Google Ads specialists go, look, this is what we're going to do. We start with search, we start with shopping, and we go from here. And this is how we do it. So I think just taking that time to really drive in, because for me, I've always had this core concept that Google Ads is successful when two things happen. You understand the business and you understand Google Ads.
Yes.
And that's why a lot of business owners who run Google Ads themselves don't see success, because they don't know how to use Google Ads. And that's why a lot of agencies or specialists fall into traps, because they don't take the time to find out what makes that business work. And you need those two skill sets
for
the successful Google Ads campaign.
Mate, I've been saying this to a few of my business owner mates who are pretty good at like Meta or Google Ads. And they're like, oh, I think I'll go to an agency. I'm like, you don't need to, because the biggest myth or the mind lie people tell themselves is like, oh, I need someone who's 10 out of 10 at Google Ads, for example. But it's not a score out of 10. It's out of 20, which is how good are you at the skill set of Google Ads? And then how good are you out of 10 of the business intelligence or knowing the business? The business owner will always be 10 out of 10. Their skill set might be 6 out of 10 for Google Ads. So they're 16 out of 20. Now, if you hire a specialist who maybe at best will be 8 out of 10. No one's ever 10 out of 10. No one's ever 9 out of 10, because there's always more to grow. They're 8 out of 10. Now they've got to be 8 out of 10 for that business intelligence to even align with that business owner. That's why you see a lot of accounts even run by business owners. They go well because they're just like, and this is actually more important with Facebook ads because stock levels, creativity, but it applies to Google Ads. So what you just said, Aaron, is like, I've been thinking about that for months and saying that to business owners or mates of mine. It's not potential clients, because I want them as a client. That is exactly it. You do need to understand the business.
Yeah. Look, another analogy that I put, and there are some real good test cases for why businesses would use an agency, but the way that I still put it is that business owner still needs to have an understanding of Google Ads so they can be feeding the right information to the agency.
Yes.
And I put it in the analogy of, I've got no interest in doing my bookkeeping. I've got no interest in doing my tax. I've got an external accountant, but I spend time every year on learning about some different tax strategies, tax minimalization, cash flow, so that when I'm going into that meeting, I'm asking really, really specific questions, and then they're giving me their full feedback. So even if they're a business owner, I don't have problems with business owners having agencies. I just think the business owner can't just throw themselves out of the conversation. They need to take the time to learn Google Ads, educate themselves so they can at least go on with some real questions.
And unfortunately, most agencies are not, the specialists in them are not good enough to actually ask the right questions. So it does fall back on the business owner to provide the right information, even if it hasn't been asked.
Yeah.
So the quality of a good specialist or an agency you work with will be based on the quality of the questions they ask, which loops back to why I said at the start, I spend more time speaking to the business owners and doing the data analysis than in the ad account, because that's where all the gold's found. A lot of people are still looking for the next Google Ads hack or strategy or whatever. That's not going to ever transform an account. It just cannot, because it's fundamentally flawed, because you're just treating that this one thing or these few things are going to transform. It can't. It has to reflect the business.
And I think any agencies, because I've interviewed a couple of different agency owners as well, and anyone that's done well, the one thing they have in common is that they know how to ask good questions. And because if you can then ask, so rather than just taking a set and forget template, where you're actually saying you're asking the right questions and then you're delivering this is a strategy that we've developed for you, you're so far ahead with getting that client. Hey, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. And for anyone... For anyone watching as well, I am going to put through in the description not only that link to the script, but also where you can find Michael on LinkedIn and Market Lead and YouTube and all the various other places that he hides on the internet.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, mate, firstly, congratulations again for making the top 100 list. Really appreciate the time, mate. I can't believe how fast it's gone. Like, this is the worst thing about speaking with smart, awesome people as time flies by, and then you kind of feel like, there's so much more to talk about. And there is. I didn't even get to talk about the e-commerce one, which I feel like people would have liked more. So I reckon we're going to tee up another one, mate.
Let's in the new year. Let's actually. This is November now because we're about to be going on holidays. This one's going to launch in January. Yeah. Let's tee up part 2, which will be e-commerce.
Mate, this one's good. This one's good. Yeah. So people, if you're watching this, comment below saying Michael part 2 or something like that to get me back. But anyway, mate, really appreciate your time and having me on here. It's been awesome.
Great, mate. See you for part 2.